Hello and welcome to Kisma and the Dark Yogi, brought to you by SourceMovement.com. We're here for people who want to be radically authentic and courageously vulnerable. Whether you're a yoga teacher building a tribe or an entrepreneur running a business, we're here to get your energy and mindset positioned for success. No more stress, no more lack of energy. Lead with full potential. Our intention is to leave the world a better place than we found it and inspire you to do the same. So let's go have some fun.
Okay, so we're going to get started here, and wanted to take a minute to just kind of introduce what we're going to talk about today. It's something that we don't do a ton of in this particular training, but we do in some other trainings that we do. And we wanted to just kind of give an overview of it because I know it's really important. So whether you realize it or not, if you're in our tribe and are on Facebook or some other social medias, then we're probably following you and watching what you're doing. And we don't want to do that in some kind of like creepy way or anything. But we do want to see how you're promoting yourselves and what sorts of things are happening out there, because we've found and studied social media and internet marketing because it's incredibly powerful. This is where a lot of people are spending a lot of their time. And if we're not there to meet them and to have a conversation with them there's a good chance that we just might not be in their awareness. And the thing is, like, there is a lot of noise happening out there, like just white noise. And I think people are looking for a voice of clarity. They're looking for value in places that they hadn't maybe looked before. And they're really needing the messages and the things that we have to share. And the bonus is that we create an attraction around us that can bring people into our classes, into our workshops, into the studio, whatever it is. So the idea with this call is really just to break down some simple things, let you know basically some of the misses that we see happening, or some of the opportunities for growth, or the opportunities to maximize there, so that you can, one, have a little bit more fun with it and have it not be such a dastardly chore. And two is definitely to have it be more effective. So I'd like to just kind of turn it over to Kisma for a second. And the first question I really want to ask is, what do you see? What are the biggest misses that you see people doing on social media?
Great question. And thanks, everyone, for being here. It's interesting because the biggest miss I see in social media will be the biggest miss that we might all create either in our studios, in our classes, and other avenues of our life. So as we teach this, our intention is to do it in a way that it applies to all aspects of our yoga business. And the biggest miss is really serving and connecting. It's just like as if we were going to be with somebody in person, the first thing we would not do is like, hey, how are you? I've got this awesome thing. Would you like to come? Because that's all about us, and it's all about fulfilling what we want. Now, we're big on sales. Those of you that have worked with us know that we are advocates of asking for a decent amount of money for our packages, for our classes, and being comfortable in the sales conversation. But that sales conversation is about serving as well. And in order to have a conversation out of integrity, we really want to connect with our people. So the number one thing when we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, whatever it is now, is to connect and to give stuff away that's awesome. And I don't mean stuff that's you can give products away, but content, something that will make their day, something that will keep them engaged while they're reading and go, this is it. This is exactly what I needed to read today. Exactly. So we want to think of what do our people need and what do they want and how can I give it to them short, sweet, and to the point. So as they're scrolling through their newsfeed, they see it, they pause, they read it, and they have a nice little something awesome for the rest of their day.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, I think of it it's just karma, and you're creating what it is that you want. So like, I have no problem with Facebook allowing paid ads on there. I think it's awesome. It's a great platform for that. But at the end of the day, too, like, I don't want my entire feed filled up with people promoting their stuff constantly. So I'm not going to do that to people in my list. Right. It's just, you think of it just like an email list. So whether it's Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or just an email list, like, you kind of think, well, what would I like to receive? And that makes it a lot easier. Now, when you were talking there, it kind of made me think, like, what's your opinion as far as, like, social media goes, because you have such a broader audience, as far as speaking to the avatar? And if they don't know what an avatar is, you can speak about that a little bit, but, like, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, great question. So our avatars are niche, our people, our peeps. And the best way to do it is call them out. I know some of you have studios, so, hey, yoga lovers, like capital letters, yoga lovers, here's a tip for your day. And it can be about the physical, it can be about the emotional, the spiritual, whatever it is. If some of you also do nutritional coaching or other kinds of, like, call it out. Are you looking to eat healthier? So make that statement. And let me just cover, because some of us kind of forget what happens on Facebook. I'll tell you what's not happening. Most of your people are not going to your page and staying on it. Now, if you have a business page, like if you have a studio and you have a schedule, yeah, there's a chance they're popping on that. But for most of us, they're not going over to, hey, here's Betty's page. I want to see what she's up to. You're in their news feed, and it's a second that goes by. Like, you literally have about 1.5 seconds to catch their attention. So don't feel, I know I heard of someone who had a new page up and he was feeling really badly because people weren't on it. And I'm like, it's not what happens in Facebook. It's a feed, it's a thread, and we need to do what we can do to positively, without any weird manipulation, I'm not about that, to reach out to people and grab their attention.
Right. What do you think are some of the best ways to grab their attention? Photos, images. Everybody loves a beautiful image. Now, there's a whole thing of videos out there now, and if you're a Facebook person and you get caught up in watching the videos, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not a video person. I tend to avoid them because I know what happens is, like, I'll get distracted and lose my way, but I'm not the typical person. So videos could be cool too. But if you put up a beautiful photo, and if you want to, say, make it into a meme, if you have some quote that you want to get out there, go to PicMonkey or Canva.com, and maybe it's a photo of you doing a yoga pose, and then just add the copy onto it and post that. And then in your own copy, you would say, yoga lovers, and repeat the quote, right? So they see it in the copy, and then they see it in the image. Or the other big thing is to ask a question, right? So let's give a scenario. What about if we did some sort of quote on an image where it was about living in positivity, right? Whatever that could be. And then what you could do is say, hey, yoga lovers, and ask a question. What are you doing today to live in positivity? Tell us below. So you ask, and then you give direction. Because the brain, in order to pause, the brain needs to be engaged. And one of the best ways to engage our brain is to ask the question. You will notice that it's nearly impossible for our brains to ignore a question. And that's why in our teacher trainings, we teach that to our students. Like, when's the right time to ask a question in class? How do we just make sure that people are with us? Same thing on Facebook. Ask a question and then give direction. If you truly want them to post below, you need to tell them. Some people will, but most people need that direction. And sadly, it's the world that we live in today. People need to be guided and directed, not because they're not smart, but because they're distracted. And so we need to pull them back to right here and right now. Right. It's funny how similar it is to actually teaching a yoga class.
It is. That's my point. Right. So even if we're not on social media, this is like what we do to connect with our peeps.
Yeah. And in the class.
Except the images.
Right. Except the images. But that might be the next. Even that, though, is like, you're the image.
We're the image.
So that doesn't mean that you have to have like, you know, the perfect yoga body and the perfect yoga clothes and everything, but that is to say that your body language and your energy speaks way, way more than your words ever could, you know, and that's the image, that's the icon in the class, and you're the one holding that space. And a lot of times in the yoga class, like you might ask a question, and like those questions in yoga classes are so incredibly powerful because it engages them in a new way of thinking, a new line of thought, and they don't have to answer to have a new dialogue in their head. And it kind of happens in the same way. So, but in Facebook, they have the opportunity to interact with you, or, you know, other social medias too. You know, they can tweet back at you, they can Instagram, like whatever it is, like they can interact with you. And I think the simpler that you make it for people, the better. Like simple is better because, you know, this is not like the part of the sales process where you're trying to get to know everything about this person and everything like that. This is the part where you're getting them to say like little yeses, or to interact in some small way. Right. And that's really important.
Yeah. And it's just like you're sitting down and having coffee with every person in your newsfeed. What do you want to share with them to lift them up? And let me tell you about one of my best posts ever in terms of engagement. It was on our Source Movement page, and I found this image of, it was a normal person. Like, she was slightly round in her build, very flexible, really beautiful. Like, even in the image, you just saw this energy, and she was doing this awesome yoga pose. And I was like, I love that. Like, it's an image of a pose, and the model is at like 92 pounds and perfect. And I put it on the page, and what I did was express exactly how I was feeling. I went, I love this image. Whoever she is, I just love that she's rocking this pose and doesn't look like every other yoga model on Yoga Journal. And it went viral because, number one, most people feel that way. They're delighted when a normal person is posted doing a yoga pose. And number two, I spoke from my heart. So they felt, now they might not know this, and this is the piece of energy that we bring into what we do in social media. They might not know it, but our energy transfers into cyberspace. So when I was like, this is awesome, that's exactly the vibration the post carried, and people felt it. And they were like, yes, it is. So we want to love on our people. We want to entertain them and be funny. And we certainly do not want to abuse their space and their time, right? It's just like, again, with one of your best friends, what would you do for them? You would never abuse their space and time. You would want to lift them up. You would want to share the best stuff that you know. And if you thought they needed a little extra jolt, you'd want to grab their attention with something beautiful. And on Facebook or Pinterest or Twitter, and a lot of people don't use enough photos on Twitter, by the way, you can use an image to do that.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's like, you know, in the first module, we talk about the full potential self. And there's a way for you, when you're in your full potential self, to call out their full potential selves.
Yeah.
And it sounds like what you're saying is like they're, you know, when you're, you know, the energy behind what you're putting out there is intended to call out a different part of themselves.
Yeah.
Like, that's really, I mean, it's really interesting. And just know that, like, whether people realize it or not, or think they're picking up on it or not, like, when you post or type an email or whatever it is that you put out there, there's an energy behind it that people will pick up.
Yeah. So it brings us to the posts that happen a lot of, I have this going on, come to my class, come to my class, come to my class, come to my workshop, this is going on. And it's, there's our train. Love Carlsbad, California. It's all really, I have no doubt that our intention is we want people in our class so we can love all over them. But the initial gateway needs to be more about, how can I give something to you? So if you look at it as give, ask. Give, ask. So I'm all about promoting our stuff. You'll see some of our posts where, like, here's our teacher training. Here's, you know, Nick's going to be back in Michigan over the New Year's. He's going to be rocking his posts about his workshops, but he will be delivering some tidbits along with it or before it. And if you have a business page, my advice would be, let's say you post, let's just pick the number 4. And different people believe different things. Some people are like, you should be posting 5 to 10 times a day. Sometimes for me on my business pages, they will do better if I'm just posting once or twice. You have to test the audience. You don't want to fatigue them. But you could do posts that are like, content, here's our class schedule, right? Content, hey, come to this class. It's going to be awesome. And also know that there's going to be that occasional burst. I mean, when I had a studio, I sold a year package paid in full by one post on Facebook where I just said, we have this awesome special, year paid in full, limited amount. Hey, PM me, personal message me, and let's get it going. And I sold a package within 20 minutes. We've sold our retreats by Facebook, but that's not all the stuff we're putting up there, right? So you want to give, and then ask and share.
Right. And, well, one thing I think a lot of people wonder about, I hear this question all the time, is like, well, when do I need a business page or do I not need a business page? Should I just do my personal page? Like what are some instances where it's like it's time to have a business page?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm really glad you asked that. And just so those of you listening out there, we have our profile pages. That would be the equivalent to our profiles on Twitter, on Instagram. And those are just, through our decision, can be strictly for friends and family, or they can be used to promote our businesses. Now, I'll come back to that. The page, the business page, is that we set up that is either you have choices on Facebook. It can be a website. It can be a personal brand or product. It can be a community. I warn you against communities because once you get over 10,000 likes, it belongs to Facebook. It's my understanding. So I don't suggest community. And that is really, if you have a studio, you definitely want the business page because then it'll tie into your website. If you're a coach or you have a strong private, personal yoga business, you probably want a business page so that you can just keep things going and really build it and also like other business pages because you can always share content. Now, having said that, I know people that build their coaching or their physical training or their yoga teacher training through their profile page very successfully, but that is their intention. All right. They're really like ramping up. They do videos, they do all that stuff, and it's awesome. And that's cool. So they can get a lot of activity through their profile. What happens is in the future, should you ever want to market through paid ads through Facebook, you will need a business page. So that's going to be the main difference. In a profile, you can boost a post, but you can't buy ads. And a business page, you need that to actually buy ads, which are very, very effective if anyone is interested in going that route.
And you're still limited, right, on a personal page to 5,000 followers,
correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So, so, it's a limited audience that way. Yeah, I think for sure if you have a studio or something, the page is the way to go. But if you have already a great network of friends and you're building a career as a teacher, massage therapist, trainer, anything like that. Musician, then the way you can interact with the network that you already have. And the more that you do that, the more that, you'll be boosted in their feed. So when you post something, people will see it.
Right.
Like that's the thing that I've seen a lot with people who over promote is nobody interacts anymore.
Nobody interacts.
And it's just not engaging, right? Yeah. So it's like, well, why would they? And my bet is that a lot of those people are not even seeing it.
Right.
It just becomes like white noise, another thing. So that's what, some of the simple ways, like the point of my personal profile is definitely to, at the end of the day, to promote what we do, right? But I still use it in a very personal way. I have fun on it, like, because I moved cross country. A lot of my friends and network are in Michigan still. So, it's a fun way for me to interact with those people. But when I put something out there to promote, like, I want to make sure people see it. So, like, instead of just promoting, we'll just do silly things. Like a couple days ago, I just did this as an experiment. I just wanted to kind of like boost my rating. So I put up a funny picture from Christmas Vacation and asked, what's your favorite holiday movie? And, you get like 20, 30 comments on it, a bunch of likes and everything like that. And people are interacting and having fun with it.
Right.
Like business pages can do the same thing. It doesn't have to always be content too that's so deep and like life changing. Like sometimes it's just kind of like the fun thing that people play around with, I posted that silly post on your wall and I was amazed. I was just kind of joking around, having some fun. I ate a salad out of the fridge. And it was really good.
It wasn't his.
It wasn't for me though.
My daughter bought it.
Yeah, and in retrospect, that's exactly what I posted. I said, in retrospect, I realized that may not have been for me. Apologies and true confessions, #true confessions. And it's like 20, 30 likes on it, and a couple comments.
Yeah, and here's to go back to profile versus business. There's a yogi out there she does some awesome videos on her profile page. And I really wish that she had a business page, because she would be one person that I'd go on that page and be like, oh, what's she posting today? Or what's she posting this week? Right? So there's got to be that clear intention of the content you can really give away. And if you're interested in building like I mentioned, some marketing, and you want to get email addresses, whether it's for your studio or your private business, you'll need the business page, and you'll offer up what's called a lead magnet. And this is something we'll go into more later. It's a whole nother call. But it's a free giveaway. It's like, here's my 10 tips to living your yoga practice. Here's a video on how to, float upside down, or here's a free something. They opt in. They go through your CRM, which would be something like MailChimp or Aweber. It's a constant contact. They get tagged, and you can email them and begin to offer them your programs and stuff online. That's like a big picture, and it's a lot to take on, but it's doable. So I'm just presenting to you what the benefits and the possibilities are through Facebook, rather than just post. Hey, come to this, do this, let's do that.
Yeah, that's really good. I have one more question. It's a little bit broader scope, though, of like, how do these concepts apply to print marketing, like flyers, handouts, things like that?
Great question.
How does that work together?
Well, let's talk about the brain again. And again, this is if you're doing a workshop training, you have a studio, think about the brain. Once the brain is confused, it will not buy. It will not allow the emotional center of the human being to make that decision. So if the brain's confused, the emotions get, and we're just talking energy within. So whatever you put in print needs to be very clear. Again, I love to call out the people that we're talking to. Hey, yoga lovers. Hey, yoga teachers. Hey, yoga students. And then put in print, if you have a workshop, be very clear in the title. What is this? What are you going to get from it? Right? When is it? Where? How? So just very, very clear structure in the print. And then again, a beautiful image that relates to what you're going to create. Because the buyer will be the emotional side in people. So if you can begin to connect with that piece, and their emotional side believes that if they buy, they're going to get a huge benefit that they really want. So if you're doing an inversion workshop, have you ever wanted to go upside down? Do you have trouble in a handstand? Would you like to be able to do you want it to be easier to go into a handstand? Join me, because we're going to have some fun, and I'm going to show you 7 tips. I'm going to break down 7 ways you can stand on your hands, or if you don't want to, you don't have to, but it's going to get easier. Right? So I see stuff all the time. It's like, oh yeah, one more inversion workshop. Tell them you have a system that's going to help them make it easier, because the people that aren't going upside down just feel like it's too hard. And then make sure they know it's going to be fun, and they really don't have to do anything they don't want to do, because that's also a big piece of loving on your students. Like, everybody is accepted.
So the main pieces like really remain the same. You're calling the person out.
Right.
And then you're talking about the results.
Talking about the results. You're also telling them what they're going to get.
Right.
What is this? What they're going to get, and what results. So what they're going to get will be the results or the benefits. Right,
the benefits, yeah. So that they can know like what they're going to walk away from. And just I think like overall, I think that just makes it so much more clear. I see some of these flyers and they've got like a whole bio up there and like all these kinds of things. And it's, I just don't know how effective that is. Like, I don't know. I personally never read that stuff.
Well, let me ask everyone this. The last time you read a bio and you remembered what it said was when, right? Chances are, and if you look at some of the young up-and-coming writers and marketers, when they write a bio about themselves, there's something very funny and engaging in it. I'll grab my daughter, for instance. She's not here, so she'd be embarrassed. But she writes for a really great school newspaper, and her bio was, in it said, she's an expert at parallel parking and walking fast, but she has no idea what she wants to do with the rest of her life. Now, all right, I'm biased, but I just thought, whoever mentions parallel parking in their bio, but it stuck out to me, right? And walking fast. So what can you say that is so engaging and different? Because ultimately, if they really want to know how many hours of teacher training you have or whatever, they'll look you up. But be funny and engaging, something so special that they're like, oh, I love this person. Like that person is human and has something unique and fun about them.
Yeah, that's a whole other story. The people who introduce themselves. Oh yeah, I'm my IYT 500.
Yeah, never say that, please, ever.
Yeah,
never
don't do that.
Never.
Nobody. I mean, nobody really cares. Like I just think that nobody cares.
Well, some people care, and that's okay.
But do you want to hang around the people that care?
You just, that's everybody's choice. So
Okay.
Nick's getting on the dark side. I'm just going to say, don't ever introduce yourself. Hi, I'm so and so. I have a 500 or 300 or 200 RYT. Like, just always be like, hey. My name's Kisma. Like, how are you? What can I do for you? Like, how can I support you? What's going on with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Much more engaging.
It's all part of the sales process. Like, that's the interesting thing. So, really, whether it's social media, yeah, there's maybe some ins and outs that are slightly different, but email marketing, whether you're just having a conversation with somebody or whether you're putting a flyer out there, like, it really comes back to just making it about them and trying to figure out what they want.
Right.
So that you can, really specifically fill that need for that person.
Right.
I think that's the thing. And those are, just FYI, like on the spiritual level, like that's massive karma points.
Massive karma
points.
Like
you being out there helping others get what they want. Like that's really what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah.
As far as selfless service goes, that's really what this is about.
And I'll just, before we take some questions, because I know it's been massive information. Let's just look at it, if it's okay, if you can see it like this or feel the whole structure of social media as building relationships. That's what we do in our classes. That's what we do at our studios. That's what we do on social media. We are simply building, trust and connection and a very healthy relationship with people. Because I know I follow a few people on Facebook, a few yogis. I'm like, oh, if I'm ever in town, I'm going to their class because I feel like I know them. And sooner or later, there will be synergy or not, and that's okay too, because the relationships that you build might end up referring someone else. What if you have a studio and someone's following you, but they're 30 miles away, but they know someone that's 5 miles away from your studio? If they feel a connection with you, they will refer you.
You can't talk about marketing without talking about sales. So kind of looking at how all these pieces fit together in one seamless flow and how people buy. So marketing, a lot of it is like getting stuff out there, but ultimately like what I've seen with marketing is that it's like constantly in test mode. You're always testing new things and always getting new information. So every conversation that you have, like if you have in mind, getting some information really about that person so that you can help them better. And your conversations, the tone of the conversations will change. So this happens whether you're, with an individual client, whether you're just talking to somebody on the street or whether you're talking to somebody before your class or whatever. The kinds of questions that you ask are really going to determine what that conversation looks like and what information that you get from them.
Right.
And at the end of the day, like what you want to know is what do they want more than anything in the world? Like what do they really want? Like why are you here? And that's a question that I've asked at the beginning of yoga classes many, many times. And some people even kind of chuckle at it, and I kind of chuckle at it sometimes, but it's a really valid question. Like, why are you here? And you'd be surprised at the number of people who aren't really sure that just show up.
And that's okay.
That's totally cool.
That's okay.
Because now they're thinking about that. Like,
exactly.
like, why am I here? Like, maybe I want to know that. And then you'd also be surprised, I think, at the number of people who just hadn't fully crystallized it. Like, they're like, I want stress, like, I'm kind of stressed out and I know I need to do this. And then that very question just helps them reconnect with why they're there in the first place.
Right.
Now, in a yoga class, you can't necessarily have a conversation about that, one-to-one, but you can before class.
Right. Hey,
what brings you in today? Mm-hmm. What do you need?
Right.
I think a way a lot of yoga teachers talk about that is, how do they say it? I'm thinking of what do you want? They ask, they're like, what they want to do today.
Oh yeah.
Like, how do they?
So I see this a lot. I don't want to say it's wrong, but let me just tell you what happens. Teachers walk in the room. So what do you want to do today? All right. Well, if you have 10 people in the room and one person says, I want to work on handstands, and 8 people really wanted to say work on hip openers, but they didn't speak up, all of a sudden you've got 8 disappointed people. Now, yes, they didn't speak up, but a lot of people don't feel like they should for whatever reason. That's a different conversation. So, and then what if you walk in and you have 2 people? Hey, what do you guys want to do today? Oh, I want to do a wall class. Oh, I hate wall classes.
Oh man, I want to interject there for a second. Like, I got totally screwed on that one time. Seriously, 2 people in class. How could you go wrong? And I just thought, and it comes from such a well-meaning place. Like, I really want to serve what these people want here. But the mistake I made was asking them before class started, like right before, like we sat down together and it was like, what do you want? And they wanted exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
And I was like, crap, like I just made my job 10 times harder. And, it's gonna, somehow or another, I want to try to please both of these people so that I can have 4 people next time in class instead of 2. So like, talk about just like coming up short, but the way to fix that, I think, is before class is just catch those people, instead of hiding or playing around with your music or whatever else you're doing, is to catch those people and say, hey, how are you today? Mm-hmm. And ask them a little less directly so that you can make the decision how it comes together, instead of saying, well, I want, do you want to do this or this? And they're like, exactly.
Yeah, it can be like, hey, what's going on? How's your body feeling today? How's your energy? Like, how's your energy feeling? You'll get a lot of information. I mean, it just, what it does, number one, you're the teacher. You're not the guru God. You're just the teacher of the class. It is your responsibility to hold the space. And they're counting on you, right? So I'm a big advocate for level the playing field, like we're all human, but our role is to hold the space. And holding the space means we direct the class. Now, the way you can do this and do it on social media, which is super cool, is Nick used to do this with his classes. Maybe 5 hours before class, he'd put a post, I'm making up my playlist. What music do you want to hear tonight at 7? You better believe people are chiming in. And so he can pick and choose what he wants to put in. If something isn't going to work, he can just say to that person, oh, sorry, there's no room. I'll try and get it next week.
Yeah.
But that's a great post on Facebook or Twitter to get people like responding, hey, you come to class and create my playlist. And then it makes them feel like, I've got this song I'm going to hear that I really wanted to hear.
Yeah. And then if you Spotify, I have very mixed feelings on Spotify. So just as a musician and how the musicians are compensated and things, like there's something that I'm not fully comfortable with, but I do use it. And then there you go. Like if people follow you on Spotify, hey, here's my playlist.
Yeah.
Like they just go on there and find it.
Yeah.
Like if you know how to find me on Spotify, then there are hundreds, literally hundreds of playlists on there. And some of them are not that great, but most of them are really, really good. If you like my style of music, if you don't, then you'll probably hate them all. But, like that's another way that you can kind of interact with people out of the box. And in so many people, like that's the reason that I use music. Well, I'm a musician and I love music, but at the end of the day, like that's something that people so relate to. So it gives you the opportunity to just connect with them on another level Why? Not so that you can talk about music, but so that at the end of the day, that opens the doors for you to have a real conversation with that person. And it might happen this week or it might happen in a year. But sooner or later, there's enough connection there for that person to feel comfortable really opening up to you so that you can have a real conversation. Then you've got a student for life. Mm-hmm. And that's really what it's all about.
Right, right. So I know it's been a lot, and we can close it up soon, but I want to give you a few tips, a few pointers if everyone's willing to do like their social media homework. And it's really basic.
Before you do that, there's one last thing.
Okay, go for it.
No, because I wanted to bring it back around of how this related to marketing. And I forgot to tie this piece up, is when you're having those conversations, pay super close attention to their words.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Totally.
You see how important this piece was? So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's so important because that's their words, right? That's a language that they can hear.
Right.
So you'll use that language in your class. Mm-hmm. You'll use that language in your marketing, right? Mm-hmm. You'll start to see the themes, the similar kind of things that people word things. Like your people will have a similar language, and then you'll use that to communicate with them. It's not, some creepy manipulative thing. It's so that they can hear you.
Absolutely. And this is, again, we teach this in our teacher trainings. Teach class like you're having a conversation from your sofa. Post on social media like you're having a conversation from your sofa, right? That you're talking to one of your favorite people in your home. Let them help them to feel like that. It will be so special.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you for indulging that. Let's hear the tips.
Yeah. So a couple of tips. I would suggest that you choose whether you're Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is. I know there's other ones out there. Not so much for LinkedIn. That's going to be more business. But to go in and pick out a few favorite quotes. And all you have to do is search like Rumi quotes on love or self-acceptance or Buddha. I mean, come on. There's so many. Gandhi. Just pick a quote and then go ahead and pick an image for that quote. So again, you can just go to googleimages.com, start looking, take that image, go over to PicMonkey, upload the image, and post the content on top of that. And there's an awesome post. And again, what you want to do is post it by repeating the quote and then posting the image. Another tip is to ask a question. So think about something you really heartfelt you want to ask. Or maybe it's a fun question. Choose a picture, an image to go along with it, and post it, right? And then the third piece is express something from your heart. And this is the one that gets scary for most of us. Not overindulgent, but really something either you're going through that you can share without being too explicit, but something from your heart, and choose a simple image that goes along with that. So those are 3 types of posts. And I believe if you work on that, don't do them all in one day. Space them out over, a few days or even a week and see what happens. All right. So throw in a couple questions in there. Offer up something. It's always cool to just like throw out a post and like, hey, does anybody need anything today? You'll be surprised what people pop back. Some things you can deliver, some things you can't, but it becomes engaging.
And those are all really great. The one bonus one that I would add is this goes with anything, right? But it's also certainly true in marketing and social media, is consistency wins the day.
Consistency wins the day.
That's not to say like post the exact same thing every day at the same time. That's to say that like be consistent, like try to make it a daily thing. And then just test, play around with different times and things like that, the frequency of it, and just, kind of have some fun. Like, don't worry about getting it perfect. Just really make a commitment to engaging with your audience. Like, that's your audience, and if they're truly some of your friends in your list, then those are people that you would want at your classes.
Right.
Or people like them at your classes.
Right.
So the more that you can consistently speak and call out to those people and have a conversation with those people, the better it's going to be for you and the easier it's going to be for them to say yes to show up.
Right. Awesome. Awesome. So if you have any questions, info@sourcemovement.com. Would love to support you. If anything that we said didn't make sense as you're reflecting back on it, please email us. it's always our intention to support you to do the very best you can, because at the end of the day, you're the people shifting lives. And by shifting lives, you're shifting the world, you're shifting the planet, you're shifting the universe. So as yoga teachers, I feel like sometimes we really don't understand the impact and the empowerment that we give people by what we do. And it's all through just one little breath, one little class at a time, and us coming together to support one another.
Yeah, it's so true. That's sacred space for people. And it's such an amazing opportunity to touch people's hearts and to help them to, to change the way that they think if they want, so that they can have more peace, more clarity, more focus, more whatever it is, more love, more connection, whatever it is that they're lacking. Like, that's the place for them to get that.
Yeah.
And you're the conduit. That's the coolest thing. So yeah, send us an email, info@Source Movement. If you're in our tribe, drop us a message on the Facebook forum. We are watching. We're watching what you do.
Watching and supporting and loving all over you guys. So have a really, really beautiful day.
Thank you so much, everybody. We love you madly, and we will talk to you soon. Namaste.